And I'm here with Pepper.
Hello.
And so Pepper's here, although Pepper can't hear me apparently because iPad issues.
I mean, I
So
can hear you, just slightly, barely.
barely here.
If
So
you
that's why
get
I'm kind of
closer to the
trying to get a
mic,
little
if you talk
closer
directly
to,
in, I can hear you fully.
right? I got to turn straight towards the microphone to talk, which may be a little whelming over. So there is that. So
Mm.
anyway, it is the first Friday of 2022 for
Yep.
you and me. So, do you know I was looking back and we've been doing this thing since just about this time in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is year 3 we're going into for you and me.
Mm-hmm.
What's even cooler though is I was realizing looking back on that, you and I had only had sort of a passing like we saw each other every like at this event or that event prior to
I
you putting out a call saying, "Hey, anybody interested in doing this?" You know, like you and I didn't actually hang out or anything like that. We weren't in the same circles.
no.
And
Well, I
now we're
mean,
like buds.
well, we were in the same. Hey, Brent. We were in the same circle, but we were in different parts of that
Aspects of
said
it. Yeah.
circle. Like,
And
I
it
tend
wasn't
to like being away from groups at times. And so
yeah,
I'm like one of those people that's kind of like, I'll come into a group every so often and then I'll back away and then I'll come back and then and then I kind of treat it like no time's passed. And I
right.
mean, that's just on how I've
Hello,
operated
Brent.
for years.
Right. Right.
And I mean, and don't get me wrong, I knew of you and I knew you were a Star
Yeah.
Trek person. I knew that. Um,
And I knew
which
of you as well, and I knew
yeah,
even what artwork you did.
yeah.
But I just never we just never were in the same building at the same time or whatever.
Well, no, there was the one time that we were, but
Right.
we were doing different things.
Right.
You were there for the Star Trek group, I believe,
Mhm.
and I was tabling for comics.
Right. Right. I was there for
And
Geek Tank probably,
yeah,
my podcast.
and then yeah, when you were doing Geek Tank, you like passed right over. Like you didn't even stop at my table. You guys just passed me over and then talked to my neighbor, but you didn't talk to me at that time. So
Yep. Didn't know you.
no.
Didn't know you from
But I
Adam. Didn't
mean,
know you at all.
it's one of those things. I'm not trying to knock you. Like a lot of people have done that to me and Bill
It's
too
fine.
over the years. Like when we're at conventions, like well, because no one really knows us, no one stops her unless they do know us. In which case, like I love when people stop. So, but at the same time, when I did that call, like I thought I was going to be way more active with it than I have been this past year.
Yeah.
I do apologize for that, but um, yeah, I've I've had a very up and down period in my life with everything going on.
Sure.
So
Well, I also feel like, I mean, 2020 didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. I think the ironically interesting thing was I remember you saying, "Hey, I want to do an artist check-in on Fridays. Anybody want to join me?" And I said, I was already sort of thinking of broadcasting regularly and had bought Restream. Do you want to join together and do this?
mhm.
Um, and sort of that became sort of a, you got peanut butter in my chocolate, you got chocolate in my peanut butter sort of thing. Um, but it was like January of 2020. So we had no idea. We didn't know what
Yeah.
was going to happen. And so we were like, yeah, yeah, we'll do that. That'd be cool. Cause then we don't actually have to like drive across town or anything. And I
Oh,
think we actually sat together at that Starbucks at First and Watts like once or something like that.
right before the
And
pandemic started.
right
Yeah.
before the pandemic started. And then COVID hit and we were like, well, there's no reason to stop. I mean, we're still, it's not like we're together. So,
It's
you
like
know,
we had planned on broadcasting from separate places beforehand.
yep. 2022.
2022. Oh, Brent.
Um. So anyway, so that was it's Brent Bring. Okay, I get it now. But yeah, I think that's fascinating in a lot of ways. That this just I guess it's serendipitous is kind of what I'm thinking. It's like it all makes sense now. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't really necessarily believe in divine intervention or anything like that, but I do like the way that this all just kind of fell together correctly and
Yeah,
did
I
the
do
right
too.
thing, even though that's not what we set out to do.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate everything. Um, and so going forward, like I want to try to be a little bit more, excuse me, on the ball.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, this I don't feel like I have been really.
It's okay. You've actually done art. I mean, there
Yeah.
has been art here. I mean, I'm looking pointedly at Raph, but Raph doesn't even show up pointedly looking at.
Well, I mean, we're not going to talk about Raph
I know,
because he's the Bruno of our group.
right?
We don't
Pointedly
talk about
looking at
Raph.
Raph. Although I think also Colton is asleep. So
Well,
somewhere along
Colton
the line,
also has to go to
Colton,
work today.
he
So,
probably is not going to show up because he's got to go to work. But
yeah.
Raph did acknowledge in the thread.
I think it was because it was like the first show of the year.
Yep, it is.
And I
And
did have to scroll backwards on
he
our
will
group
still
chat.
pop in. Who knows?
I had to scroll backwards on our group chat to get the link again.
Well, no, I just posted the link in the group chat.
Oh, okay. I completely missed that then.
Which it's actually good because they redid all of the setup in here. You are definitely the peanut gallery, but you're our peanut gallery, and that's the important part.
Yeah.
But they changed all of the setup in here on the controls, so I was worried that plausibly somewhere along the line maybe the link had changed, but it hasn't. So clearly, because you're like, I went back to the previous one and
Yeah,
it still worked, and I'm like, meh, okay,
Yep.
nothing wrong with that. That's
Yeah. I
good.
mean, and Brent can always be our peanut gallery. I'm not going to stop that ever.
No,
I mean, I
I think
grew up
I'd be
with.
very sad if Brent ever stopped being our peanut gallery. That would
I mean, I literally grew up with peanut galleries all around me. I have 5 sisters.
right. So there's that.
Yeah,
Definitely. Okay.
Now, I also have 2 brothers, Brent, that are also peanut galleries. All right,
But they're not as much of a peanut.
I actually do have a sister who has a nickname, Peanut.
Usually, if you have that many kids, someone ends up being a peanut.
Well, she's Peanut, I'm Pepper, my oldest sister's Pickles, and then another one's Pumpkin.
Yeah, see, that just sounds like a tongue twister that involves Peter Piper.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Too bad I'm not Pickled Peppers.
Right, exactly.
Oh, wait, let me go get some alcohol. I can become a Pickled Pepper.
You will become a pickled pepper. If I'm ever with you and you are drunk, you are totally becoming pickled pepper. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it here.
No one needs to see me drunk ever again after I stop drinking.
That's one of the nice things about coming up on 50 now. If I say I don't want to drink, everybody's like, okay. When I was 20, they're like, come on, just a little. And now I'm like, no. And they're like, oh. It's like, it's so nice. I don't have to worry about peer pressure. I just
I'm approaching 40 and I'm just like, yeah.
Yep.
I hope I get a kid before I turn 40.
I hope so too. So for this year, I just did I've got the clipboard that I use that has my daily whatevers on it. I printed out the whole year's worth.
Oh, wow.
It's super thick. It's awesome. Since this is week 1, all 53 weeks are in here. So that's kind of cool. But it also allows me to go through and sort of see what my overview for the year is. And I realized that I am tabling at Wicked WestCon. That's April 2nd and 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, because I bought those tickets in 2019 for that table. I bought the table in 2019, and then COVID hit, and so the 2020 Wicked West Con didn't happen, and now they're on for 2021, and they just moved the table forward, so I'm tabling, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, the company that I work for, under contract, they wanted a bunch of people to go to Orlando in February, but I have to get a COVID test now because, excuse me, I've
Right.
been coughing.
And now is a good time for you to cough.
Yeah.
We're talking about COVID tests.
Basically, I haven't really been feeling myself, and it feels like I have a head cold, but it's just not going away.
Ooh.
Which pretty much, I just want to be safer than sorry.
Right.
Because I'm not boarding a plane that is basically a can tube with people in it and have COVID and then give COVID to everyone on the plane. I know that sounds ridiculous.
No, it doesn't. That actually is very awesome and socially aware. So, as someone who has been on a tube with a whole bunch of other people during the pandemic,
I'm going to a
convention
that's going to have kids, going to have an adult. It's going to be basically, it's a collectibles convention.
Right.
And if I think about it properly, most people who collect things, they usually do have some health risks and issues.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. The last thing that the company that I work with needs is basically people going around saying that one of their artists gave them COVID.
Right. And I mean, that's a thing that, running a convention has been a concern as well. Because we ran IndieK and we didn't have any major breakouts. It wasn't a super spreader event, but we also had a mask mandate and staff had a vaccine mandate. So,
yeah.
I mean, like we couldn't mandate. Well, we didn't mandate that the attendees had a vaccine, but we did mandate that they all wore masks. So that was cool. And we just had our NYE event, and we only had one person get COVID that we're aware of, and in the staff, and that person's now quarantined. So
yeah.
But again, no major breakouts or anything like that because we had a mask mandate in place and and a vaccine mandate for the staff. And the thing that's interesting is that individual who got COVID was with all the rest of us, but we're all vaccinated. And so it didn't spread, knock on wood, because I mean, it's now been 7 days. So if we've got it, it's over us or whatever.
Well, I know they keep changing the amount of days.
We'll see you when you get back, Brent.
See you soon.
Yeah.
They keep changing, and this is what bothers me about the whole mandated quarantine periods. Like they reduced it from 14 to 10, and now it's in some areas of the country they're still operating on 10, but they also recommended only 5 days.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing, I think, that is something we just have to work with here, and that is there's nothing we can do about this. The people who are working on this problem have to. I'm making a very interesting starship here. The people who are working on this problem have to balance. They have to balance the needs of the people and the needs of the disease, because clearly people are getting mad about any mandate at all, and so they're weighing it out. What's the least amount of time that we can get away with? Because really, I think if they had what they want, any doctor with giving them anything that they would want, they would want us to be like down for a month every time we had an exposure. That'd be ideal, but nobody's going to go for that. So they're weighing out, what the medical professionals want versus people who want 0 days of downtime, So
Well,
they're trying to find a hopeful medium.
I get that, but like I have friends who are still testing positive that work in the dental field. So they're literally in someone else's mouth.
Right.
And I understand why like the offices of that nature don't want you to come in if you're still testing positive.
Right.
Because that's a direct access to infection. What I don't appreciate is like going into a doctor's office to get a checkup and I'm not there for COVID, but then being treated like I have the plague.
Yeah, well.
Like telling me to replace my mask, which is graded, with another mask because it doesn't look like the one that they use.
Well, now that I go to a doctor's office. In fact, I'm going to a doctor's office today. And I wear my N95 and they're okay with that. They don't seem to be. In fact, I've been wearing mask. I've been wearing masks that my wife made, and they've been like, "Oh, nice mask," or whatever. So, I guess that depends on your doctor's office.
Well, I have the insert pocket.
Yeah, because my doctor's office is just like, "Oh, cool mask," But I guess that all depends. It depends on the doctor's office or whatever. I'm going to the doctor today to talk about my back problems, which have gotten progressively worse over the last 2 years. So we're going to see what the doctor says about it. So
it's because you're hunched over, drawing.
That's one of the reasons why everything is a standing desk now. So I'm not hunched over drawing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already been told I need to change up and get some new gear myself by my wonderful husband. So
well, and Gerard just posted the thing about the shrimp, and he's not wrong. Artists, why is my back hurt so much? Also, artists while drawing, and they're a shrimp bent over.
Yeah, it's like
yep. But I sit on a bench or on a stool, which still keeps my back straight. So that's the important part.
I'm leaning forward. If I lean back, I'd be like this.
Yeah.
So,
and I still feel like I prefer sitting down at this monitor. So I'm wondering whether I shouldn't raise the monitor up a little bit more. Because this still feels like I'm kind of hunched over even when I'm standing, So.
Well, I need to just clean my desk off and actually use it the way it's supposed to, which it's basically one of those ones where it flips up.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom piece fell off, so right. I can't really hold and rest things on it anymore. So I can use tape, I guess, to hold things in place. But no, I think it's time to get a new desk. I need to get a new scanner. I need to actually get a camera for web stuff.
Right. I've got another camera that's mounted over here, but every time I switch to it, it's like there's nothing there. Because I think the camera may have given up somewhere along the line. But
well, I need to get a web camera that like basically I can come from down where my desk area is. I have a little bit of wiggle room as far as like how high my desk can be. But like my best desk that I have ever had, my husband now uses it.
Let's see if that sees anything. No, it still doesn't see anything. Dang it. I have it.
It's all right, guy. It's all right.
Oh, I get to show you. I've been showing. Did I show you my this thing? My Olivia?
No.
So this is what we're going to use when we can finally get back together again. But it's got a little part that comes up like this,
Okay.
extends. But the cool part about it is that it has these little tabs right here. You can see how the tabs kind of came out, and that holds your phone.
Oh.
And then it's got a light.
Okay.
So the idea is it can hold your phone, it can hold your phone like this here, and you can turn this way. So your phone is pointed down, and this is lighting up below. You can see how it lights up below. And this is really heavy. So, and this thing really can extend quite a bit.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. Totally. But it's really cool. But the thing I like about it is it came with a USB. Well, it didn't come with. I bought it too. A USB microphone.
Okay.
Which works really well. We used it for Geek Tank a couple of weeks ago. So you can put the microphone into it and then just sit the microphone between you and me. And then it can just sit like, oh, hey, look, attention citizen. And Chinese Communist Party, your internet activity has attracted our attention. We've been found protesting. Oh, this is good. This is awesome. It's a serious chat.
That's weird because we've never mentioned China once.
I know. We could almost have. Oh, look, our social credits have been reduced. You and me, Pepper. We've lost 100 social credits.
I'm at a loss for words because I'm not protesting them. I'm like, you do what you want to do. Your citizens, your country. I want to stay away from that. That's not my deal. That's not my jam.
Do not do this again. If you do not hesitate. More social credits. More social credits. We're going to lose 11,000 social credits, Pepper. You and me.
I honestly don't know how to take that. I really don't know how to take that.
I think because, it's funnier
I don't live in China.
We're not Chinese citizens.
And I'm not like protesting them.
Well, obviously it's spam. I'm much more entertained by the fact that I don't even know what they're attempting to do. I mean, I guess my thought is this because people are broadcasting, Chinese citizens are broadcasting on Twitch, and then the spam bots just go out there and nail everybody on Twitch who's Chinese, or in this case, just everybody, and hope that they catch folks.
I mean, I don't think either one of us looks Chinese.
I don't think the bot cares. We're not speaking Chinese. We're not even, none of my dressing on this is Chinese. So clearly we're not Chinese. Clearly we're US citizens. But I think it's interesting because if nothing else, what a fascinating bot to get hit by. I'm actually going to take a picture of it because I find this remarkable.
I want to take a picture of this too, but my phone's in the other room.
Well, I will take a picture of it right now, and you don't have to worry about it. There, I took a picture. I'll post that to Facebook in a bit.
Send it to me via send it on our group chat on Facebook.
Okay.
Messenger, so that like everyone can see, like, hey, look what happened this morning.
Right?
You know what? It brings me back our very first show. Remember the thirsty Twitch users?
Right. The thirsty Twitch users. That was one of those listed under thank goodness for Brent.
The one that was really hot and bothered for you, guy. Really loved your white hair.
Right? I was like, well, and I think they were both male. And I'm like, aw, sorry, dude. I'm not aligned that way. Of course, it didn't really matter because if they were both female, then you're not aligned that way. So they lost no matter which way it went. It was like
Yeah.
this was like a lose-lose proposition for them.
Hey, I don't date internet trolls. I mean, I'm married, so.
Well, I'm married too, so it's. I mean, but I'm just like, man. Well, I mean, they're trolls, and it's like this. Obviously, this didn't worry me. This post here doesn't worry me at all. I'm not worried, but it's fascinating and it is intriguing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like what it says about like the situation of the social media, the situation of the world, the situation of the life we live.
I before we continue, I need to get Bill for this.
Okay.
Bill, you need to see this spam thing that happened on our show.
We got the awesomest spam.
By the way, did the food come? You sure?
It's just being prepared now.
I got him. He's coming. He's probably gonna laugh at this too. Attention, citizen. This is the Central Intelligence of the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
Messages from Bill, or for Bill in this case.
Yeah, messages for
Hello.
Bill. Hello, Bill.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I was telling Pepper I had a dream about you two the other night. It was very funny. It involved like me staying with you guys and you guys arguing over beds. It was very, very funny.
Very
And
on point on
remarkably-
how it turned out.
Yeah, I was about to say my brain was remarkably accurate about the interaction between you two. It was very.
So I have a slightly funny Star Trek story for you. I have a background on my Zoom that I work for my company, and I changed it to. I found this looping engineering scene.
Nice.
And I put that behind me. And so I joked in one of the meetings, I said, well, I'm here coming to you from the Starship Yamato because I couldn't get on the Enterprise.
Right.
And no one got it.
No one got it. Hey, look at my warp core. I got a warp core.
Nice.
It's totally those little like icicle
Mhm.
lights that for Christmas, and I just made them go back and forth like this. It looks so cool. It's like
All right.
the best $20 I ever spent.
Mhm.
Like, and it's even cooler because of the way that they all have wires between them. So I looped the wires around like this at the ends of each one of those, and then taped it all together, and then put like gold tape around that. So it looks like it looks like a bomb. It's really funny. I'm worried somebody will break in here at some point, like the police or whatever. They'll be like, "It's a bomb, everybody!" Because it just looks like a bomb. It's really just icicle lights going this way, but it still looks cool. So,
All right. I got to get back to work.
okay.
Nice seeing you
See you
again.
later. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Bill. Oh, you didn't want those social credits from China, right?
No, I'm good.
He says he's good for the social
I
credits.
think
He's fine
100
about
social
giving them
credits is like 99.3 American social credits. I mean, it's like really close to similar, I think.
Well, what I find interesting is the social credit system that they have there. I think it's kind of weird. I think it's kind of wrong.
Well, more importantly, I actually have been looking into that because, of course, I'm trying to figure out what is the world of Bellatrix Rising and should they have a social credit system or should they not, or whatever. So I've been looking into some of these things just to, just like looking around at different systems of government and stuff like that. And the funny part about this is the social credit system doesn't work like this. So what they're posting here, either these guys don't actually know what's going on with social credits, or they, or they're, I don't know. It's kind of like us saying, this is the FBI. We have discovered that you have child porn and you're using that or whatever. It's like, it's easy to tell that they didn't. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the same thing. It's like if we'd gotten spam that was like that, we'd be like, that's not how the FBI operates, and we know it. That's not the way that the Chinese system works either, which is funny. So I find that even more entertaining about this particular post, because it won't scare Chinese, and it's not going to scare anybody who's not Chinese. So what's the point of it? Right?
Well, you got a point there.
I mean, it's like the Chinese will be able to see right through it. It'd be like us getting an FBI warning on ours that says, whatever. We'd see right through it. And the non-Chinese, it means nothing to them. So the only thing I can think of is that this is a protest, right? So they're posting this to make you and me in other countries talk about the social credit system. And that's the only thing I can think of. Which, if that's the case, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So if that's what they're headed for, I'm good with that, because I actually do think that the social credit system probably isn't the best idea ever, and probably sucks a lot for people. It's very much like our financial credit system, which sucks a lot and doesn't make anybody's life any easier. Just makes rich people richer.
Well, our credit system here is like, you need to have credit in order to get more credit.
Right. You need to go into debt to prove that you can go into debt. Yeah. And by the way, we've made everything too expensive for you to get on your paycheck. So you'll have to just go into debt now to prove, so you can get credit, so you can buy the things that you need to live. Yeah, that's our system.
Yeah.
Works great. Less filling. Wonderful if you're an artist and like don't have a regular job, because then we don't have any proof that we are reliable in any way. So hope we never need a house or never need, you know what I mean? Like, as long as we have, like, you have a spouse and I have a spouse and our spouses have regular normal jobs, but if you and I were on our own, we'd be screwed.
Yeah. No,
nothing regular.
I mean, I think I watched a YouTube video not that long ago that made an absolute, like, it was very poignant about, like, the fact that most artists, if they are in a healthy relationship, are not just supported by people that buy their stuff, they're supported by spouses.
Right.
And or, you know, people that they are with, maybe not married, but they're still being supported by someone for, like, a home or, you know, other things. It's just when what she was talking about was, like, she had a few people that were basically saying that she lives off of, basically she gets her supplies for free. Like, she had a few commenters on all of her videos before that basically were saying, like, oh, well, you get everything for free from, like, Jackson's or, you know, whatnot. And she's like, and she was explaining where her money comes from, because obviously people were making comments about it.
Right. And
she was like, no, like, this is the reality. It's like, I have Patreon. I make, I have classes that I do on the web that people pay for.
Mm-hmm.
I do this, I do this, I do this. And the most important one of all is I have a partner that supports me doing this.
Yep.
And
a
lot of people don't realize, like, it does put, like, in one ways that is great, but for people that like for Bill, sometimes it's a lot. And he basically goes, can you get something that pays to help? The money does help.
Yep.
You know, it doesn't, but in my terms, like, if I really wanted to be accurate with how I feel society should be, it would be the Smurfs.
Right.
Which, for me, it doesn't, that does not make me a communist. What it means is you can do a trade or you can help someone out, and in return, they give you food.
Right. That's a meritocracy.
Yeah. Like,
That's what Star Trek
I'm not
theoretically.
like, I'm not saying like, hey, everything needs to be communist and everyone needs to share everything. It's like, if you look at Smurfs, the way that it was built, each person has a designated job. And
Mhm.
when they do that job, everyone gets paid with food. They own their own homes. They live as a community that helps one another.
Right. That's a meritocracy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And
meritocracy is sort of what I'm trying to build into Bellatrix Rising, and it's hard. It's hard to weigh the balances out. What you need to do to make a meritocracy work is accept that there will be people who don't do anything and still
yeah,
give them food. And that's the thing.
well, you
And that's
have
what you
Lazy
have to
Smurf.
do.
You have Lazy Smurf.
Right. But I mean, that's the thing is, in a meritocracy, you need to accept that. And I mean, like, here we've got in our current existence right now, we have a percentage of our people that just don't work. They just go to work and toil so that they can make money. They don't do anything. They
Yeah.
just operate, literally they go to work to pull this switch up and down so that they can look like they're working. And we have a certain aspect. There's already a group of people that struggle every day to push this button.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about just the way that it happens, you could cut 10-15% of every business out and still operate just fine. But you have to have that 10 or 15% of that business in there because you need to employ people to keep them employed. So
Yeah.
we have a certain amount of, already kind of people who just drive to work every day and diligently push a button over and over and over and over that doesn't need to be pushed. I remember every job I have worked when I worked as a data manager, I was always looking for more efficient ways of doing things, and I could always find an entire division of people that did nothing for the company. An entire
Yeah.
division of people that just sat there they came in every day, wrote up entire reports or wrote up letters that went nowhere, that did nothing. And it was the people who were good workers, they were good people, nobody wanted to fire them, but there was no job for them. So instead, the company builds a busy work job for them to just sit there and toil all day so that they can pay them. And so we already sort of have this system in place. And the truth of the matter is, I believe that people don't like to be idle. By nature, they don't like to be idle. What happens is if you leave them to their own devices, they will still create things and do things and invent things and come up with stuff. It's just that some of it might be comic books or writing the great American novel or, cooking on cooking shows or, like things that we don't find value in because we have decided that that's not valuable. So if you were to open what is valuable to people doing work every day, whatever work that is, and make it non-judgmental, you'd find that everybody works. I mean, even
Yeah.
if you think about parents, gosh, that's a freaking hard job, as you are about to find out. So, I mean, because it's not easy being a parent. That's really hard. Like, my kid decided to take a mental health day today. It's going to be more work on me today. I'm not going to get a lot of work done because right now at 11, my kid's into the idea of being super picky about food. And if you leave him alone, then all he'll eat is crackers and candy. At 11, he needs more than that. He needs protein, he needs, vegetables and stuff like that. So I've got to hunt him down all day long and make sure he's not eating cookies and crackers all day. So him being here is a burden on me. It takes time. And it's not a big burden, and I'm absolutely happy to do it. But people don't value that. They don't see that as a paying job. To them, they see that I'm just kind of running around being stupid.
Well, it's kind of like if you remember Adam's Family Values, where Morticia has to go into the workforce.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, there's a lady behind the desk, and she's like, okay, so let's see what we have to do, what skills you have from managing your home that can be used in business.
Right.
And she says, like, a bunch of stuff, and, like, she comes up with, like, specific things, like, oh, you can do accounting. You can do this. You can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just I mean, my mom works as an accountant now.
Right.
You know, and she did accounting when she was for the church. When I was really little, she did accounting for that too.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, but like she was already doing like accounting for her home and everything like that. But I mean, the more, and not to say it sound like weird about it or anything, like you luckily only have one child. My mom
Mhm.
had 4.
Right.
So when you have
And no,
more
there's
than
no,
one child,
and I
it's-
totally understand. There are pluses and minuses to having more children. The plus is that you actually end up with more babysitters because at some point in time, your eldest is old enough to take care of your youngest, and
Yeah.
so that helps. On the drawback side, you have 4 times the problems because your eldest may be old enough to take care of the youngest, but still isn't eating anything but crackers and cookies all day because they're 11, right? And so, I mean, you
Well,
still have to hunt down the
no,
You
I
kill
think
the
I
kid.
only had to worry about my sister trying not to kill us.
Right. I mean, like things like that. I mean, it was like it depends on how you look at it, you know.
Yeah,
Every
no, I
every
think
every age group has a different fight.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, I didn't always eat cakes and cookies. My vices when I was around your son's age was like I had this thing about sandwiches. So I was still getting like protein and bread and like stuff, but like I had weird sandwiches. I'm not
Right.
like you know when you're in kindergarten and you go through that phase where you're eating like peanut butter and jelly with spaghetti and meatballs on a sandwich.
right.
Okay, that never really ended.
Peanut butter
for
and
me.
jelly with graham crackers on it. That was one of my favorites.
Well, actually, that one doesn't sound too bad. Like
No,
I
it's
actually
actually
still
pretty good.
enjoy some of the sandwiches I came up with. But the weirdest one that my sisters always found gross was I put Cheerios and bologna on a sandwich.
Right.
But for some weird reason, the taste of it just, I liked it.
You know, you've got bologna. That means you have proteins. I'd be good. If that was what my kiddo did, I'd be like, cool, you do you, boo. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like as long as you've got proteins, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, my biggest problem, you know, well, and it's not just that. My kid gets up in the morning, turns on his iPad, and then turns it off just before he goes to bed at night. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we've got to stop that. You've got to play with Legos or read a book or, you know. And I remember my mom doing the same thing with, no, you can't just turn the TV on first thing in the morning and sit in front of the TV all day. You got to do something else. And I know that games and YouTube is this generation's version of don't sit in front of the TV, go outside. And I know that, I mean, but it wasn't good for us, and it's not good for them. And you know, it's no different.
I mean, I get it because we just paid for a subscription of Crunchyroll, and so some of the shows that I've been waiting to watch on other streaming services because they're on. So like for the past few days, I've been kind of glued to Crunchyroll.
Right.
So
but that's a difference. So here's the other thing. If my kid played with Legos and watched YouTube videos, I wouldn't be as bothered. If my kid drew and watched YouTube videos, that wouldn't bother me at all. Because actually, that's kind of what I do when I'm working is I'll throw over here on this monitor, I'll throw something up, you know, usually Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Paramount Plus network or the Paramount Plus app now has a Star Trek channel, and all they do is just play Star Trek all the time, and it's like a TV channel. And I absolutely adore that. That is my favorite thing ever because I don't have to think about it. I just throw it up
Yeah.
over here and run it all day long. And it's just different episodes of Star Trek will show up. And it's just like watching TV for me. It's like, but of course it's all Star Trek. I don't have to pay attention to it because I know every line from every Star Trek ever created. And so, it's like, so it's mindless and I can do work. And so I'll sit over here and do work while over there is playing Star Trek. That's okay. What bothers me is he'll sit there on the chair curled up in a ball with the iPad in front of him plugged into an outlet and just sit there all day and not move. And that bothers me. I have a problem with that. So
Okay. I
'cause
mean,
that's not
I
productive.
see that point. I see
Yeah,
that
that's
point.
not productive. Because I don't think screen time hurts you. Like, I remember back in the 80s, they were like, if you have more than 3 hours of TV, your brain will melt out your ears. I don't think any of that's going to happen. But what I do think,
Oh no, trust me, some of those commercials are super funny to watch now.
they really are. But I do think that we are not doing him any favors because he's not producing any. He doesn't have a hobby. His hobby is to watch YouTube videos. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't build models, doesn't build, you know what I mean? Like, there's no other world going on here, just YouTube videos. So, and
Yeah.
he's working on addressing it. I mean, we've got things that are going on that we're addressing, which is cool. That's cool.
Well, I also think and this is kind of like, don't find this offending you per se, but it kind of goes to the whole difference in generational stuff as well.
Mhm.
Because like what you're saying, he's not being productive, but you started out having the conversation with me about it going, he took a mental health day, meaning that there's something going on with his mental state that he needed to take a break from.
I think,
And in my mind, when I do that, I don't do anything all day. I'm not productive.
there's a difference.
know?
I'm not talking about today in specific. I'm talking about every day in general.
Yeah.
But
Also at the
like
same
today,
time, like when I remember I was like, my family always complained I was always super helpful up until like my mid
they
to late
complained
teens.
about this?
Huh?
They complained about this?
No, they started complaining into like my mid to late teens.
That you were super
Because
helpful?
they were like, you were always so super helpful. Why won't you help me now?
Oh, I see. I follow.
And it was because like around that time period is when I was either having problems with kids at school or I just didn't want to do anything. I just didn't feel like I felt really weird. I felt hungry all the time. I was just
Right. Well,
you know.
there are multiple things that's a different story. So when I talk about my kid on this one, I'm talking about a general statement for one. I mean, like,
Yeah.
we're not talking about today. We're talking about in general. Because
Well, yeah, but
they've been going through phases where, like, they're into this role play, live action, not live action, I guess. It's online role play system where they take over a country in Europe and then start a date at a date and time, and then they play it out as if it was. And I think that is absolutely fascinating to me. But that's the only thing they're doing, and so it becomes their entire world. And they sit down in the middle of a conversation between my wife and I, and will all of a sudden give some random fact about 1436 Spain. And though it is incredibly fascinating that's happening, it's invading into every other life now, every other life in the household, because it's literally the only thing they're doing. That's it. That's all. And so they're watching YouTube videos now on the history of Europe, which is also cool. And they're completely hyper focusing, which is awesome if you're an ADDer. But if you're actually a neurotypical person, you'll freak them out. And that becomes sort of a, now we got to talk because it's fine, but your mom's neurotypical and she's getting really over it. I understand it. I'm an ADD.
Yeah, I mean, when you explain it like that, that kind of makes more sense.
We've got to figure out a way to balance. Like, I had to do something other than Star Trek when I was a kid because I would literally walk into a conversation and start talking about, you know, the Enterprise's warp core being balanced in 750 millicochrans and and people are like, we were talking about the Broncos. You know what I mean? And it took some time for me to realize you can't, in normal company, you can't just walk in and dump a bunch of facts on people's laps and expect them to be impressed and clap a lot and pat you on the back. Most of the time, they just be really annoyed. And that, I'm kind of trying to get that through to them before they run into this problem.
Well, it's, I don't know, but like my family kind of has had this thing, like when I was growing up, like if I'm coming into somewhere, like to ask what's going on first.
Mm-hmm.
And like they really stress that.
Right.
Because apparently I did the same thing.
Yeah, well, you're an ADDer too, so definitely you've got all the same stupid traits that all of us do.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. The social disconnect where you kind of walk in and you're like, I am the smartest person in this room. Everyone listen to me. And everybody's like, no. And you're like, and that.
Well, mine was like basically I was the third born of 4 kids.
Right.
And like we really did like kind of fight for attention.
Right.
So I know where mine came from. I don't think I believed I was the smartest person in the room, but I did make sure that I made sure that my sisters seemed like they were stupider than me.
Right. Well, same concept, maybe. I think I was, as a kid, a lot of high burning brilliance. You know, like I would look at a thing and solve the problem. I would, you know, like clearly I was running hotter than everybody else around me. And that gave me a little bit of an ego about it. Because, of course, back then I didn't understand that everybody has value in society. You know, it didn't matter whether you could solve a problem fast. There was somebody else who could recite information faster, or there was someone who could calculate faster. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand the brain had variations to it. I only saw that what I did was amazing to other people. Therefore, I was obviously super smart. And to me, anyway. And so I didn't get that. I didn't get the gradient of it. And so it took some time for me to get my ego knocked down to a reasonable place. And now I'm suffering from imposter syndrome all the time, which really bugs me a lot. I got better things to do than be stuck behind imposter syndrome, especially since I'm tabling in April. Okay, sorry. Which reminds me, we've totally wandered off topic for the day, but we really should discuss, what are we doing for 2022? What's our plan?
Well,
who are you?
I'm trying to get I'm trying to get a comic done for an anthology that was supposed to be due back in December. With all my mental stuff going on and all my family stuff that went on last year, I kind of just was like not apathetic towards majority of what I was trying to work on, with the exception of the stuff that made money.
Right.
So this year I'm gonna try to focus on the stuff I wanted to get done last year and during 2020 as well.
Right.
Because I have had several setbacks that basically I allowed myself to kind of not really, like, I defocused on what I wanted to accomplish,
Right.
and I'm just trying to get back on board.
Fair.
So that's about it.
You gotta get back up on the horse.
Yeah. I'm just gonna. I can't really draw. No, because if I'm drawing, I feel like I'm ignoring you, and it's just like, nope, it's getting into a vicious circle.
That's okay. I'm not
But
terribly worried. I actually haven't brought anything up on my monitor either. I was going to, and I was going to sit here and just draw, but then I was like, I won't pay attention to you either. So
yeah,
I'd probably
and
opt
then
not to do
also
that.
our food was just finally delivered.
Yep.
So my stomach is also indicating you're hungrier earlier than normal now.
I'm doing intermittent fasting this year. So I went to the doctor in December and they took blood, and I'm pre-diabetic now. So it's time for me to lose some weight and get down to a reasonable weight, because the doctor was saying, if I dump some of the weight right now and get some of the sugars off of my standard fare, then I can
the main
probably
thing you
avoid
need to
diabetes.
remember with diabetes, because I deal with it daily, is your A1C also needs to go down.
Well, that's what's happening right now. My A1C is about 2 points up above norm, or above the top. 1 point or 2 points up above the top, whatever is.
So you have like a 6 or a 7?
No, not even that much. So it's 5.7 or 5.6 or something like that.
Okay. All right.
So 5.0
basically
is like the top. Yeah. 5.0 is the top, or 5.7 is the top, and I'm at 5.8. I can't remember what it is, but because
5.5.
Yeah, 5.5. So I'm at 5.6 or 5.7. Enough that the doctor's like, if we keep going, and what he said was, we don't know. Anything could happen in the next 5 years. Your pancreas could give up at any time. So, I said, okay.
Way to be bleak, Doc.
Well, you know what? I really like this doctor because he's blunt. And sometimes when people sugarcoat stuff for me, I feel like I miss key things because I'm an ADDer and I'll miss it. So I need my doctors to be stupid blunt. And that's just the way it works with me. It worked with my dad the same way. He needed a doctor to say, if you smoke for 1 more year, you will be dead. And so he stopped smoking. And it gave him an extra 15 years. So no arguments. It worked. But yeah, this is the doctor said, you're on yellow light. That's what he said. So I don't know. Your pancreas could give up next year. It could last another 15. We don't know. Nobody knows for sure. He said, but it's starting to be overloaded. It is clearly overloaded. So now you need to start doing something. So I am intermittently fasting. I asked him, should I go on a keto diet or should I go on to intermittently fasting? And he's like, will your wife join you? And I'm like, no. And he goes, then go intermittent fasting. Because if your wife won't join you on this, then it's no point going keto, because then you will always have a different thing than she will be eating. And at some point in time, you'll just end up eating what she eats.
Yeah, it's kind of like Bill has told me, like, if we go vegetarian, it's because I'm doing all the cooking. And so if I'm doing all the cooking, Bill will eat whatever I cook. So it's one of those things of, I also at the same time, I hate to say this, but keto dieting is just, to me, it works for some. It doesn't.
It makes you sneeze. You're allergic to keto dieting.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that, or someone just basically was talking smack about me.
Right. Well, that's me. I'm texting it right now.
Yeah, basically the keto diet, like, Bill did something like a riff on the keto diet, and like the response to him, like, no, I will not do the keto diet. Like, I just won't. Now, what works for me is vegan or vegetarianism. Basically, just cutting out meat and then just eating more vegetables, more fruits, more everything else.
Right.
You know,
And everybody is different. That would kill
Yeah.
me. I just jump right off the roof of my house right there. I am such a meat eater. I love meat so much that if you were to say, that's it, no more meat for you, I'd be like, well, I guess my life's over now. I'll walk out into the cold.
well, and also my sister, she does a keto diet with hers, but it was more or less like for her diabetes was more severe than mine.
Right.
So it was recommended that she go off all carbohydrates.
Right. Right.
Unfortunately for me, I can't do that.
Fair.
So,
I'm
but
trying to turn.
I do apologize.
Anyway.
I smell my food, and we're talking about food. It's just making me hungrier. So I think I'm gonna go so that I can eat.
Before you go, what is your plan? Because once you go, I think I'm going to go too, because there's no reason.
Okay.
And I don't see Colton, and I don't see
Brent's in training.
Yeah,
So
Brent's in training, and so there is one other person watching, and I don't know who they are, but I think that they'd be okay if we went on ahead and called it early. Before you go though, what is your plan for 2022? You already said that. Do you have any stories that you're going to be working on? And is there anything I can do to help you?
I'm gonna be working on Treehouse Witch for sure at some point, but I need to finish up my second campfire stuff chapter, my second part of chapter 2, or the next chapter, I guess, of it.
Okay.
I have the anthology I need to get done, obviously, about the vampire Mercy Brown in Rhode Island. I have a bunch of other stuff. Basically, I'm just trying to get reorganized and reprioritize of what I wanted to accomplish.
Fair.
It's basic stuff.
Are you going to table it all in 2022?
I'm still worried about tabling.
That's fair. I don't have any problem with that at all. I'm
But I
actually
do-
kind of uncomfortable about tabling. To be fair.
I do have a company that I work for that does request me making an appearance.
Right.
So I think I'm going to do limited appearances. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the February appearance, because if I don't get a negative test result, then I can't do it anyway.
Right.
Because, I mean, the airline that they chose for us to go through, I believe in Colorado, they don't allow us to leave if we have a positive test result.
Wow.
So
An airline, probably not United.
I think it's American Airline.
No, Southwest is the same way, because the
Yeah.
individual that that just got COVID was supposed to head back to their home state after NYE, and can't now because they've got a positive test result. So the airlines won't let them on until at least the 15th. So
Yeah.
that's a thing. And I'm noticing that they're requiring more than like 10 days. They're requiring 10 days. So because they tested positive on the 5th. So they're requiring 10 days. And that's serious. For us, we're at 7 days from exposure, so we're probably clear.
Well, you have 3 more days for exposure.
But we're not going anywhere. I mean, we're not going anywhere until next Friday at the latest. So a week from today is the first time we have to go anywhere. So we're probably safe.
What are your plans for 2022 besides working on Bellatrix?
So I am trying to clear out of world building completely now. I mean, like, I'm into the little things, like we were working on uniforms all week this week, and trying to get them production ready. Because, for example, the uniforms that I had invented looked the same color in black and white. And since I draw manga style, having the offset color and the main color look the same in black and white was a problem. So we had to go back through and redo all of my color codes so that they wouldn't look the same, because I've been doing them in color this entire time, but I'm not going to do the comic in color, and I hadn't even thought of that.
I honestly think you should do a comment, like part of Bellatrix Rising, where someone like turns to someone else and says, "Isn't that the same tone that they use for blah blah blah?"
All right.
And you pull a Mahoshi from the manga and goes, "No, I'm 40%. They're 35%. There's a difference of 5% between the two
difference
of
in the
us.
tonal gradient.
We're not the
here.
same
Come on.
species."
Right. So, but that's one of the things. Brent and I spent a lot of this week working on the Marine uniforms. So the Marines are up and ready to go. Now I just need to populate that out. And I think we're pretty much ready. I did do, and I'll try to be quick here because I know you're hungry. I did do a breakdown with Brent of all of my scenes from the first issue and what items we're going to need in here. And we broke it down into characters and ships and interiors, exteriors, et cetera, that need to be built. And so we're just going down this line and getting all of this stuff built so that the comic can be ready. Because, of course, I use heavy 3D in my comics. So all of the 3D assets need to be built. And I was noticing that I was starting to do I'll just build everything in the ship, even if I don't need it in the comic right now. Brent was like, "You'll be spending years working on this if you do that." And he was right. So that's one of the things. So we're going to finish the world building as soon as possible. I am working also on Silver Pentacle #2, which is in my shop. And I noticed that Nancy Hansen is almost done writing Silver Pentacle #3. So I'm behind by one book already. So we'll see what that has to do. That's a big thing. I really want to finish Fred's thing, which has been on my plate forever. And I've just been freaked out about it and scared about it. And I'm noticing my imposter syndrome is getting worse and worse and worse as I don't get enough work to kind of keep operating. Now I'm kind of thinking I might not be a very good photographer sort of thing because I'm not continually working. And so it's not reinforcing it. So I'm going to try to get a little bit more photography work, stuff like that. That's my 2022 battle plan. I actually
if you ever need practice, that's fine. I mean, we can always plan a day where we go for a hike in the Rocky Mountain National Forest when we're not trying to evade COVID.
Right.
And you can definitely take some really great pictures there because you can go in with one car full of 6 people for one price.
Right. That's not a bad plan either. So that's not bad at all. I'm going to turn up the gain just a little bit there. There we go. I also feel like I'm very red or pink, but the lights behind me are now finally looking green and purple, which is nice. And you can see that, not this way, you can see the warp core like really looks clear. That's cool.
It also doesn't help that you're wearing red.
It doesn't help that I'm wearing red. Okay.
Red shirt.
So that's my battle plan for 2022. That's what I intend to do. For this weekend, I'm going to finish my opening and ending credits so that we have opening and ending credits for this show, which I don't have right now. And that's a thing. I'm actually kind of pondering the idea of someday coming down there and filming you at your desk drawing, and then like you're drawing and then you turn and you wave at the camera or something like that, so I can add you to the opening credits because you're in this show every week. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like
almost every week.
Almost every week, but you're here more than George is, and it does say Coffee with Guy and sometimes George. And it's like, but it's also Pepper, and Pepper's here more than George. So, why George gets, top billing over you is beyond me. So
because George is a cat. That's why he gets top billing.
Right? Because cats everybody loves cats. Everybody loves cats. It's a thing. Anyway,
well, just let me know. I know Bill had you're in my life enough to know that my husband has requested asked me like, "Hey, is Guy coming over this week?"
Right.
For the first Saturday of January, and I was like, No, I think we talked and we said we were gonna do February because
The first Saturday of February was the first. So that was the Fort Collins Club was canceled because obviously
Yeah.
it was New Year's Day. But
yeah, everyone's hungover.
right, the first Saturday of February is still on the table as long as it's not snowing and nasty. If it's snowing and nasty, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not coming up there.
Well,
I'm
if
not
it's
going
snowing and nasty everywhere else and it's not snowing and nasty in Loveland, I'm gonna not be shocked. But
Right.
like ever since moving here, it's like it's either we don't have anything or we get everything within like 2 days.
Right. Well, these storms were back to back. We got our storm on New Year's Day, which was the first storm of the year for us
Mm-hmm.
down here. And then right off the bat, we got another one on Wednesday. So I'm looking out
Yeah,
there. The
because
roads
we
are
had
still-
one. We had one in New Year's at New Year's, yes, and then we had another one. I want to say earlier this week for us, and I shoveled the driveway. Like this is on how much of a like. When we lived in the Springs, we did have to shovel, but it was just a sidewalk. We didn't have to shovel a driveway. We didn't have to shovel a walkway up to our house. You know, we had some stairs. We just brushed the stuff off, and then we had to shovel our sidewalk
Right.
per our HOA.
Right.
We don't live in an HOA community now in Loveland, but I did have to. The city of Loveland does require us to shovel our driveways and shovel our sidewalks and shovel our front porches. So I got to do that yesterday. I got a knock on the door from someone who is willing to do it for $10. And I was just like, I don't have a 10, I'm sorry. I come downstairs and Bill's like, I have a 10. And I'm like,
The truth is, I've got a dude who comes out here now and he just shovels the whole thing for $30, which you're like, that's expensive, except that we are a corner lot and we're a corner lot at an angle.
yeah,
So you have to get this sidewalk all the way back behind our yard because we've got a street directly behind our house.
Yeah.
And so you have to do this street and this street's worth of sidewalk because we're responsible for the entire thing. It's huge. It's also the reason why our fence is going to cost like 20 grand to replace because we've got this fence that goes all the way around and it's like ridiculous. And so
I told we have 2 neighbors that have snow machines. So guess what we're going to be investing in?
right. A snowblower is awesome. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
But they're
Every single
more
time
fun
I hear
than-
the word term snowblower, I think of Johnny Five.
right. So
Johnny
instead
Five's alive.
you're gonna use the term snow machine, which for all Coloradans means those things that you use in Vail whenever it doesn't snow enough and Vail needs to have more snow.
Yeah.
They put those machines out there that just blows fake snow all over the
Well, it's better than the alternative where they take small amounts of dynamite and literally explode the snow from above, causing mini avalanches so that they have fresh powder for all the skiers and snowboarders below.
They have artillery for that. They actually have
oh
artillery
no, I know.
guns.
I've talked to people about it.
It is wonderful.
It's fun to talk about.
There's a
like,
certain amount of just sheer awesome to what happens in our mountains all the time. You're like,
yeah,
you guys have artillery? Yeah, we got artillery. We wheel it out every so often and shoot at mountains. And I'm like, cool. That's cool.
yeah.
I respect this.
I talked to one person. They're like, yeah, we use like these little caps that are like the size of quarters, and we just put them strategically in the snow, and then we blow them.
Yep. But you think about it, it makes sense. You'd rather have the avalanche when nobody's on the slope than when there is. Ghost Hand, good to see you. Storms during, grass grows 5 inches. So you get like a
Ghost
monsoon
Hand, I know
season.
that problem so much.
Yeah,
I
Ghost
grew up
Hand
in
gets like
Florida.
has like a
I had to
monsoon season.
At one point, like it rained so much in Florida, like we had to mow our lawn like 3 times a week. So I
think
get it.
This year has been really dry for us because I think I've only had somebody out to mow our lawn like twice in the whole year,
So we've only mowed the lawn once in our new house
right? It's so dry.
because it was
It's
just
ridiculous.
it wasn't the fact that it was too dry. It was like Bill only was watering the front yard. He wasn't watering the back. And so the backyard's brown.
Right.
It's like everything's almost dead.
Well, we've got that problem anyway. I mean, because we just didn't.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why that wildfire took out,
Yep.
all of Louisville and Superior, or at least attempted to, was because it's kindling out here. Everything's kindling. It's just
Mhm.
we're just asking for a fire.
So
5-inch
I have
rivers
a
and- okay.
yeah,
So Ghost Hand, it's great to see you, but we're gonna bow out now because both of us are
I'm
hungry.
sorry, I'm starting to get a hungry headache.
Right? We're both hungry. I'll see you next week though.
All right, see you next time.
And it's good to see you guys on here, Ghost Hand and Brent. And I will see you later. Food. Brent's like, I'm back. Wait, food?
Yeah, food. All right.
See, and I'll
Sorry,
see you
Brent,
guys on
for
Monday.
being-
Ghost Hand and Brent, I'll see you on Monday, and I'll see
You
you
have a
next
good one.
week, Pepper. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Keep your eyes on the stars.